So you were talking about Tipu Sultan.
Yeah, Tipu Sultan. And he was a formative and a very great personality. He had a lot of economic vision as such. And he wanted to develop the state of Mysore from different angles. So he had maintained very good relations, trade relations with the Ottoman Empire. And we learned that he even approached the Ottoman sultans there also, maintained some diplomatic relations also. And when there were some threats to him from the British administration, even he appealed for their help and all these things. So that way we realized that around 1772 to 1772, 1799, very good relations were maintained between Mysore and then Ottoman Empire. That way, not only the commodities were bought from here, and even some of the commodities were exported from here,
from
Mysore state, particularly the sandalwood and then the forest products, and even there was some what's called silk production, silk items were also, and these things were exclusively developed during that period. So we have certain information.
Subsequent to Tipu Sultan, what has been the, especially during the period of the Khilafat movement, so was there any effect when Maulana Muhammad Ali Johar and Maulana Shaukat Ali, Abul Kalam Azad, when
I don't have any information regarding that, because it was more confined to North Indian sections.
Yes. True.
But in South India, what happened was, after that rule, after the collapse of Tipu Sultan, there was rendition, and then Mysore state took over. Warriors of Mysore came to power. I think the influence of Muslim populace and then the leaders of Islamic faith from South India were very few, were very little in that way. So probably what happened, we need to go into records. We have to, why is Tipu Sultan so hated by the Hindus or Malwar and the people of Kur? It's a purely one thing I'll tell you. History has a combination of both aspects. It's a mixture of goods and bads. The angle in which you are sitting and the matter that you accept is a very important thing. Tipu Sultan, for a few, he is a hero. He is considered to be a crusader, a person who died for the country and who lived for the country. And in his own farmans and his own, he has stated that I am born in this land, I will die for this land. And he has even given so many, what's called, good statements regarding what is considered to be nationality and everything for that matter. The first person to be considered to be what's called not a ruler but a citizen. He was a person who planted what's called liberty, plant of liberty. Liberty tree was planted by him. He called himself a citizen Tipu. He did not consider himself as a ruler for that matter. But then he's also been hated by a few sections of the people for different reasons. Fortunately or unfortunately, one thing is true that any historian, a student of history, always loves Tipu Sultan. A non-historian has not accepted Tipu as a lover of the nation. That is one of the paradoxes that we are going to find. Anybody who has commented on Tipu is more a non-historian than a historian. You ask any historian, he will say that Tipu is a great personality. If you take a general consideration as such in the country, entire country, you feel that people who are talking against him are not students of history. That is one thing. Secondly, I'll tell you that you can awake a person if he is in deep sleep. You cannot awake a person who is not sleeping but pretending as if he is sleeping. Now, some sections of society, they know the reality of Tipu Sultan, but they don't accept the reality. That is the thing. They want to refute because of some cause, different cause, other than academic. So here, the question of whether Tipu is hated or loved is a matter of your what's called ideology, your exponent, and then the way that you want to look at him. And simply to say that he is what, his background is what, and all these things. That way, you are going to find that Tipu Sultan is a most accepted and a more dedicated, a great hero for that matter, who contributed much for the development of the country as such. Except a few policies that he adopted in Coorg for a different reason. Coorg, he seems to have compelled some people to convert to Islam. It is not untrue, it is true. It is true. But why did he do? When he did not compel his own people around Srirangapatna to become Muslims, why did he compel people from Coorg is a question to be asked.
Good question.
He did not.
What is your explanation for that?
Yeah, he went to Coorg thrice. He defeated the people whenever there was rebellion. Thrice he defeated. But every time he defeated, there used to be a truce, there used to be a treaty between them. And they used to accept his overlordship and then return back. As soon as he returned back to Srirangapatna, there would be another strike, another revolt. And why this happened again and again? That was because of the instigation of the British. The British would instigate them and they would lure them, and then some galata would start. And how to permanently keep this down is a question. How to keep this down? A few leaders were made or compelled to what's called come to his faith, so that they'll remain loyal to him. That was the political what's called calculation of Tipu Sultan. That was not because he hated Hindus or any other religionist. He did not hate anybody for that matter, because if that were the case, his general was a Hindu, was a Brahmin, his prime minister was a Brahmin, and his own ministers were Brahmins and ministers were all Hindus. Only a few were there, except a few, that the entire administration was run by Hindus only, Brahmanas.
What about the troops, I mean the people who fought for him? What was the component of Muslim versus Hindu?
I believe, as far as my knowledge goes, some people say also, it is only 18% Muslims and the rest were all Hindus.
In the fighting foot soldiers?
Yes, for that matter, 18%. Out of that 18%, some 4 to 5% were from Afghan and then other what's called countries who were the generals and all these things. While the local Muslims were all there, what's called 13 to 14%.
Almost 80% were non-Muslims who fought.
Definitely. That was the case not only with Tipu Sultan, even with Vijayanagar also. Even with Marathas also.
Yes, I will come to that.
Even with Mughals also, for that matter. What was the population, Muslim population at that time? You have to have a ratio. If you have a ratio of the Muslim population of 1700s, then you are going to understand what must have been the population.
You think Muslims were less than 15% of the population?
I don't think that they were even 15% at that time.
Obviously.
Even today we are 14%, all said and done. If they say 14%, 12 to 14% is the population, they say, some say it is 18%, whatever is the calculation. But we say, if that was the case in 1700, how can there be 20%? 20% Muslims would have been not there. So, even those Muslims who were there in local areas, they were all converted Muslims only. Nothing like what's called pure Muslims from Persia or Arabia, like that. So that Deccani Muslim concept was very much there, and then converted Muslims were there, and they all joined because of the sociological system that was there in Indian society at that time. So Tipu Sultan's army also considered such population only. So we realized that religion was never an issue in medieval India, whether it is the Delhi Sultanate, whether it is the Mughals, whether it is the Tipu Sultan's army or whatever it is for that matter. It was purely political in character. They came here to rule, they ruled, and they did not. And even in one of the great books by Muhammad Siraj, a poet of the what's called Delhi Sultanate period, he says that when all the mullahs went to Qutbuddin Aibak asking for what's called conversion of all the society into Muslim society and appoint only Muslims, he said, you are like what's called some stones in a heap of corn. Nothing doing. You cannot manage that population as such. You be like what you are. That is the statement. That shows that how in medieval India, religion was not a matter of ruling. Religion was not a matter of ruling, because they were the people who came here to establish authority, and to find it, I think we need to understand. And the Muslims and the Mughals ruled for 800 years. If for 800 years, if they wanted, with all superior powers and military strength, etc., they could have converted the country into their own way, whatever they wanted. There would not have been so much of, even if there were some revolts here and there, they would have crushed it, because there was the power. They were very strong enough. But they did not do that, because that was not their intention. They wanted to rule the country like their own country. That is the most important thing.
When they came here, they never thought of going back. Most of them.
No question of going back. They came here, they considered this land as their karma bhumi. They considered this land as their own land, where they had to lead a life, and they had to live, and then they had to die. They had decided. And when that is the case, when is the question of looting the land and then what's called disturbing the economic system, political system, social system, etc. Because they knew that they are going to be a part of this land, or Sai for that matter, motherland will be there. And that is the question that we are going to understand here that way.
Yeah.